All right, reciprocal functions, part 2, cotangent. Okay, so tangent has asymptotes, and I'm going to graph this a little bit differently than the other two reciprocals because I'm not going to sketch tangent. I'm going to know that my x values still, well, sorry for my cough, you guys. I'm actually going to go from 0 to pi over 4 to pi over 2 to 3 pi over 4 and pi. And the reason is, if you look at tangent, okay, tangent of 0 is 0. So the cotangent of 0 is going to be undefined. And again, that's because of what we've seen before. If I have a 0 over 1 and I take the reciprocal, it's now 1 over 0. You can't divide by 0. Thus, it is undefined. Now, tangent of pi over 4 is 1. Reciprocal of 1 is 1. Tangent of pi over 2 is undefined. And it's undefined because at pi over 2, sine over cosine, 1 over 0. Cotangent is cosine over sine. So it would be 0 over 1. Okay, tangent of pi over 4 is negative 1. Oh, sorry, what? Of 3 pi over 4 is negative 1. I can keep that the same. It's still the reciprocal. And then tangent of pi is 0. Therefore, that's where we have our asymptote. Okay, so we have to approach it a little bit differently than the other two reciprocals, but that's okay. Our period stays the same. Amplitude doesn't exist. Let's graph it. So I'm going to go 0, I'm going to go out a little bit more, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. So that we can see, oh, okay, there's going to be an asymptote at 0. There's going to be a vertical asymptote at pi. Okay, so pi over 2, cotangent of pi over 2 is 0. Pardon me, cotangent of pi over 4 is 1. So you're going to see similarities for sure, but it looks as if cotangent simply is tangent that has been reflected and shifted. That is not a mistake. Okay, kind of awesome. Let's see, domain. Okay, so domain is all real numbers. We've seen this before. X cannot equal this one. If I start at 0 and I go to pi, right? I only have one asymptote. Okay, so just like tangent, we're going to say, I'll just put 0 as a placeholder, plus the period k. Okay, secant and cosecant, it's half the period. Tangent and cotangent, it's the full period k. And then the range is just all real numbers. Or all real numbers. Sweet. Go to page 10 with me, please. We're going to do one example and one example only. Here it is. Yikes, sorry, I'm all over the place. Okay, so I am going to write it as y is equal to 3 times the cotangent of 1/2 times theta. The 3 as our a value means that we have a vertical stretch. The 1/2 means that we also have a horizontal stretch. Okay, so for our parent function for cotangent, again, we're approaching this a little bit differently. We're not going to sketch tangent. I go 0, pi over 4, pi over 2, 3 pi over 4, and then pi. At 0, we have an asymptote, 1, 0, negative 1, another asymptote. Okay, these are the points for cotangent. Transformations, we have 2x and then 3y. So if we substitute in for x 0, we get 0. Sorry, that line is bothering me. Pi over 4 becomes pi over 2. Pi over 2 becomes pi. 3 pi over 4 becomes 3 pi over 2, and pi becomes 2 pi. If we take our y coordinates, an asymptote will always be an asymptote. 1 becomes 3, 0 stays 0, -1 becomes -3, and then an asymptote. The period of cotangent is pi, and if I divide that by b, okay, we end up with 2 pi. There is not an amplitude. Sweet. All right, let's graph it. So I'm going to go out 4 tick marks, just like we've done before. 1, 2, 3, 4 as my period, and then cut that in half. So 3 pi and 4 pi. And then I need to go up to 3 and down to -3. How do I know that? Because of my transformation chart and because A is 3. All right, so I have an asymptote at the y-axis. I have an asymptote at 2 pi, and then there will be one at 4 pi when the pattern repeats. I have at pi over 2 a point at 3, 0, -3, 3, 0, -3. And then I'm going to connect them, and they go on forever. Nice. All right, do not cross your vertical asymptotes, ladies and gentlemen. That doesn't change. Okay, so the domain is going to be -infinity to positive. X cannot equal. I'm just going to put, I'll do 0 again, plus the period k, where k is any integer. Remember that it's a location of an asymptote plus the period k. What am I writing? Does anybody know? Yikes. It should say integer. Okay, and then our range is all real numbers. That will never change for cotangent or for tangent. Yay! And then we're not going to do the writing of the equations, so we are done with part 2. Part 2, due, italiano. Okay, we're done.